Hi everybody, I hope you've all had a great start to the new year. When I was preparing for this video, I fully intended on ranking all of the eyeshadow palettes that I've tried in 2025 to join the ranking series. I've already done foundations, concealers, powders, contours, bronzers. I'll link all those videos down below. And the more I tried to rank these palettes, the more apparent it became to me that a lot of these have a time and a place. Some of them are everyday staples. Some of them are for special occasions or evenings out. Some of them are seasonal that I would only use maybe in the spring or in the fall. So many other factors that come into play when we're talking about eyeshadow versus a foundation, for example. So we're going to diverge a little bit from the ranking series. So what we're going to do is put these in awards categories. In some categories, there's a clear winner. In others, maybe not so clear. So the categories that I have come up with that make the most sense for my collection are Ghosted, Nice Knowing You, Love You, But You're Too Messy, Have We Met Before, A Reason, A Season, A Lifetime. That sounds good to me. Hope it sounds good to you. So let's get into this. It's going to be a lot of fun, so stick around. All right, we only have one entry in the Ghosted Nice Knowing You category, and that is the Hung Van Gogh eyeshadow palette in the shade New Neutral. Now, this is going to be quite unpopular. I know a lot of people who have loved this and is their favorite of the year, which I honestly don't understand unless I got a dud. I found this palette to be extremely patchy. Very, very hard to blend. Some shadows in the palette were very creamy, very, very true, but a little bit too pigmented. Others weren't pigmented enough. If I had to say some nice things about it, it does have a nice gradient from dark to light. In the end, I did manage to get a nice look out of it, but it wasn't an enjoyable experience. If you caught my video trying this palette out, it was something. I do not have this palette anymore, and of the 20 eyeshadow palettes that I've tried this year, it's the only one that was returned because I knew I would never ever be reaching for it because it was so hard to use. At first, I thought it was me. I'm doing something wrong, and I gave it a couple of goes, and no, I had the same experience every time I used it, and in the end, it was a no for me. I am probably the only person on YouTube who reviews makeup to say that that wasn't a good palette. It really, really wasn't. So Hung Van Gogh wins in the Ghosted category. The next category is I Love You, But You're So Messy. And there's only one entry to this category as well, and that is the YSL Couture Mini Clutch in number 830 Unexplored Garden. This beautiful palette right here, it is very creamy. The mattes are very creamy, easily blendable. The most beautiful muted olive color story, but it is so messy. The fallout that I get from this palette is unreal, unrivaled. Okay. And so that's why it's in this category on its own. I've never experienced any fallout like this before, but the colors are so gorgeous. I've quickly swatched them for you. You get this gorgeous shimmery shade that has a green shift to it that plays so beautifully with these olivey, muted olive tones. This is a metallic, this is a darker matte, and this is the lighter kind of transitional shade in the palette. Absolutely beautiful color story. I love it so much, but I found that I don't reach for it unless I know I have the time. I'm going to do my eyes first. I put my patches on, etc., etc. Gorgeous, gorgeous formula. They all are in this line. The packaging is beautiful. It's all beautiful. It's just a little too messy. You know that roommate who you love, but their shit's all over the place? That's that's who this is. Okay. So it's a love for me. However, the messiness of it kind of deters me sometimes from using it. Now, this could have easily gone in the Have We Met Before category simply because of this particular color story, but this deserved its own place here just because of the fallout. Speaking of that category, the next one is Have We Met Before? And this category is reserved for palettes that have very similar color stories, where at first glance, they seem very, very close. So let's take a look at what's in this category. And in the end, we'll determine whether or not they actually are that similar. We have 3 entries in this category and a honorable mention for the YSL Unexplored Garden, and you'll see in a second why. So we have the Lisa Eldridge Desert Gleam palette. We then have the Charlotte Tilbury Emerald palette, and we have the Natasha Denona Mini Gloom palette. So as you can see, because of their olivey, greeny leaning color stories, it's very, very easy to kind of spot some shades that may be similar. But what we're going to do is we're going to talk about each of these and I'll compare them so that in the end you will see how close they are or not. Let's start with the Natasha Denona Mini Gloom palette. I have a feeling there might be a MIDI coming from this one. I have a feeling. I haven't heard anything. It's just a suspicion I have. But this is a beautiful muted olive undertoned palette. Very, very gloomy. So it is aptly named, but we have 2 creamy mattes in here and 3 standard metallic shades. I do love this color story. It's absolutely beautiful. And in general, I love Natasha Denona's mini palettes because with 5 shadows, you can create a beautiful look, perfect for travel. I love the packaging. It's all gorgeous. I have 0 complaints about this palette at all. I've swatched the shades for you. Here are the 2 matte shades in the palette, and then we have the 3 metallic shades. These all work together very, very well. This pink one I do like to add to the inner corner. That works really well that way, but you can also just use this pink with this deeper brown and combine them that way. It's absolutely beautiful. It's more versatile than it looks. Let's just put it that way. Gorgeous. And this one has a little bit of a green undertone too. So it works out beautifully, beautifully together. Gorgeous, creamy mattes, applies beautifully, blends beautifully. Just what you would expect from a Natasha Denona formula. Gorgeous. Next up is Lisa Eldridge with the Desert Gleam palette. I missed out on the Betty palette, but I hear it will be back, which is great news. But let's focus on Desert Gleam. What a beautiful color story. My eye does tend to go to color stories like this, which is why I have a few that are similar in tone, that muted olive green that I love so, so much. But this particular palette, just like with all of our other 6-pan palettes, the formula is very creamy, very beautiful. This particular color story is really wearable all year round. And what I love about it is that you can do a very soft application of these shadows, or you can build it up, punch it up. I would say that for the shimmers, I would use my finger to apply for maximum impact, because when you do apply with a brush, they're not as impactful, but they can get there definitely. All of these are buildable formulas, and I love that. It makes it very versatile in that way, and also the color story is quite versatile. Let me show you the swatches of these next to the Natasha Denona Gloom. I'm going to show you what's kind of similar and what I use these shadows for. So in this row, we have Lisa, and this row is Natasha Gloom. So I see 2 very close similarities in these brown shades right here, and also these olivey matte shades right here. I don't see any other comparisons. These shimmery shades here, this one right here is a little bit brighter and has a little bit more gold in it versus the Natasha. The Natasha definitely leans more green. And with these 2 shades right here, this one is much more golden in tone. Hope the camera is picking that up. This is very pink. This is very, very golden. And this is more of like a chartreusey type of shade down here that I couldn't find anywhere to put, and obviously this one as well. I love to combine this shade and this shade right here. Beautiful, beautiful combination. They're all beautiful together. Like I said, quite a versatile palette, even with just the 6 shades. I love playing with this palette and combining them in different ways. Absolutely beautiful. The formula's amazing. Gorgeous, gorgeous color story. Fantastical. Next up is the Charlotte Tilbury Beautifying Eye Trends. I do not like the name of this line. Let's just put it out there. Beautifying Eye Trends. Okay, fine. But this one is Emerald Effect. What a gorgeous palette. Beautifully laid out. You have really, really easily blendable, creamy mattes. I have to say, from swatching all 3 of these, this is the creamiest of the Natasha and the Lisa Eldridge. This one definitely swatched much more creamy, and you have all different types of formulas in here. You have your Diamond Dimension shades in this gold shade right here, and also in this aquamarine. This is the palette that I'm wearing today. I have the aquamarine in my inner corner. It's beautiful for the inner corner. So beautiful to use, very versatile. Just like with the Lisa, you can do a light wash of this. You can build it up and get a more intense color. You can just keep it very light. You can punch it up. You can go from day to night very, very easily with this palette, and it's a great green color story. It's not too green, enough to give you that green eye look without being too green. It's just perfectly balanced. I love the shades in here. The shimmers in here are so sparkly and foiled and give you that wet kind of look if that's what you're going for. So pretty. I know there was some hullabaloo. Do we use that word? Did they use it in the 1920s? Hullabaloo about the packaging. I do not mind at all. Doesn't matter. It reminds me of the Dior Backstage 9 pans. Has never been an issue for me because the formula inside is stupendous. Very, very good. Again, if I had to pick a winner in this category, it would go to Charlotte over the Lisa and the Natasha. That's how good this formula is. Now, let's take a quick look. I have swatched Charlotte right down this row, and these 3 down here are Charlotte. I just wanted you to see them. They had no other place up here. There is no comparison in terms of shade, really. Let me get a little bit closer so you can see. If we look at the darker matte, Charlotte is the deepest of. And then if you look at these, they have a completely different tone. They're not that muted olive type of formula, although at first glance it may look like that. You have some pretty vibrant greens, and also this aquamarine shade right there is just so stunning. It differs greatly from the other 2. I would say the Natasha and the Lisa Eldridge are more similar than the Charlotte Tilbury. I struggled to find similarities in them. So in general, it is a little bit more of a warmer palette and not as muted, more vibrant, a little bit deeper in the mattes, and you can't go wrong if you love green. Superb. And that's why Charlotte is my number 1 in the Have We Met Before category. You know the saying that people come into your life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime? Well, we're going to apply that to these eyeshadow palettes and group them in those categories because I think it applies really, really well. Let's start with a reason. And I have 2 entries in that category. They're both from Pat McGrath, and the reason they're in this category is that as much as I love them, I don't use them all the time because there's a reason for them. They are the palettes I'll reach for if I'm going for a night out, if I really want to jazz up my eye look, because what you can achieve from these palettes is astronomical and amazing. And for me, I reserve for nights out. Yes, you can use these during the day, but in my experience, since I've had them in my collection, I have been going to them when I need something a little bit extra. If I want to add a little bit of oomph to my eye look. I love these, and yes, you can use them every day, but this has been my experience, and that's why they're in this category. We're going to start with the Pat McGrath Mothership of 2025, and this is the Petalmorphosis palette. I do have to preface this by saying that this is my first and only Mothership that I own from Pat McGrath, so I can't necessarily compare it to the previous ones. I know there was a lot of complaints out there that there aren't the special shades in here, no Blitz Astral shades in here. So I can only tell you my experience as a newbie to the Motherships. The formula in here is incredible. So easily blendable, very, very creamy, easily spreadable. This particular color story is not necessarily intuitive. Like you don't look at it and say, oh yeah, this one, this one, this one, and this one, I'll make a look. You really got to kind of look at it and figure it out. It's not laid out in a way that's easy. I do have to say that. However, if you do start swatching and kind of looking at the shades in here, they're so gorgeous. The mattes, so creamy, so blendable, beautiful. The metallics, the blitz shades in here, so sparkly and gorgeous. There's no fallout. It's absolutely stunning. I love this green in here. I love to combine it with this green. Just those two, and either this one or this one in the inner corner. This chartreuse shade right here, absolutely stunning. These mattes right here, very, very wearable, everyday shades. But I put it in the reason category because I only reach for it for a reason. I don't necessarily use this for every day, even though you could. Having this be my first Mothership, I don't have any complaints because I don't have anything to compare it to, and the experience I've had with this palette has been nothing but great. I have swatched the palette for you here. I tried to keep the mattes together and kind of go down to the shimmers. They're so buttery when you swatch, and I know swatches don't necessarily translate to what it's like on the eyes, but I can tell you the feeling that I have between my fingers when I pick this up, absolutely very, very high quality eyeshadows. And the price reflects that as well, right? Definitely. This is not a cheap palette, but it's very, very beautiful. And I am very happy to have it in my collection, 100%. And the other Pat McGrath palette in this category is the Gilded Nirvana palette. This beauty right here, it's absolutely stunning. As you can see, I've dipped in a lot. Now, just like with the Petalmorphosis palette, this is one that's in the season category because I don't reach for it all the time. We only have one matte in here, which is fine, and you'd think, why only one matte? It manages to work perfectly with all of the other shimmers in this palette, and the shimmers in here are absolutely dazzling. They're dazzling. And I'm kind of glad there's only one matte in here because it takes up less real estate of mattes, and we have more of these beautiful sparkly shades to work with. This I love mostly on vacation. I brought this with me on vacation when I went away in October, and I loved using it. When I reviewed this palette, I don't think I've ever had so much fun playing with a palette than this one. So if you like to have a lot of fun, play around, get some pretty dazzly, beautiful, beautiful eye looks out of it, oh, this is your palette. It is so good. The formula is great. No complaints about the formula. I love the size of this mega palette. Usually her holiday releases, this was a holiday release. They're in cardboard packaging and they're quite ginormo. This one is nice and compact. The pans are maybe a little bit too close together and maybe a smidge small. I will say that, but that's okay. It doesn't deter me from using it. It's absolutely beautiful. I have swatched it against the Petalmorphosis. There are about 3 shades right here. Oh no, 4. 1, 2, 3, 4 that are very similar. Okay, guys, I'm going to tell you that much. But everything else kind of stands alone in these palettes. But to have four that are very, very similar, here's the difference. You get more matte options in the Petalmorphosis than you do in the Gilded Nirvana palette. Depends on if you like more shimmers or more matte options. I would say that the Petalmorphosis you can use more on a daily basis versus the Gilded Nirvana palette. In my opinion, the way that I use shadow, you can't go wrong with either of them. But if I did have to give an award in this category, because there are two, I would definitely give it to this one. Not that it's a better formula, not for any other reason other than the sheer joy and giddiness that I experience when I use this palette. It's just so much fun. It's fun. And everything goes on so smoothly. The formula in here is creamy, just like you would expect. It's just fun. It's fun. And if you like fun, you have to try this out. It's so good. In the season category, we have three entries. We have the Natasha Denona Bloom palette. We have the Anastasia Beverly Hills Embers palette. And we have the Prada palette in the Color Story Primula specifically. I'm going to start with the Natasha Denona Bloom palette, and then we'll move on to the others. Firstly, the packaging. Absolutely stunning, and I do believe that Natasha Denona herself did do watercolor paintings to put on the top of this palette. It's so spring, it's summer, it's beautiful, so beautiful. Let's take a look inside. So here is the Bloom palette in all of its glory. You may think, wow, that's very monochromatic, and how much variation can you get out of this palette? But you actually can, because we have like a peachier side to things, and then we have a deeper plummier side to things, and it is more versatile than you think. It is so pretty. This is in the season category because this is something that I would pick up in the spring and in the summer for these beautiful shades that kind of match the season. Not to say that you can't get deep with this. You actually could use it all year round. But in terms of awards and where this fits in, it definitely fits in the season category. Here are the shades. On this hand are all of the shimmers, and on this hand are the mattes. What a beautiful gradient of shades in the same color story. This plum shade right here called Clover is the most beautiful, beautiful shade. It's my favorite matte. But as you can see, as I hold these up, even though this screams spring and summer, you can really deepen it up with this shade, this shade, this shade right here. Now I will say that the shimmers in here are not wet looking. They're not special sparkly shades. They're quite subdued, which kind of goes with like a spring theme because that's when this was released. So I do understand that, but you're not going to get a powwow kind of sparkle from this. It's very, very satiny, very subdued. I thought, you know, I'm going to try it because I was intrigued by it. And I thought these shades usually make me look a little bit sickly because pinks and peaches and those types of shades do not suit me normally. But this palette is different because the undertones and just the shades themselves are deep enough and work beautifully with my skin tone. They're amazing. I love this. It's in this category, like I said, because I don't reach for it all year round. It's something that I'm sure I will pick up in just a few months as the flowers start to bloom and the trees start to sprout their leaves, because it's absolutely gorgeous. And again, as I mentioned, you don't only have to use it during the spring and summertime because you can deepen this up. You really can. If you grab this shade and this shade right here and add this shimmer, you have a smoky eye, like a plummy smoky eye. You know what I'm saying? So absolutely stupendous for a season for me. All right, moving on in the seasons category. Next up is the ABH Embers palette. Now, this one is more of a fall palette for me, and I'll show you why. When you take a look at this, it just screams fall. The formula in here is so incredibly smooth, really, really smooth on the eyelid. The shimmers in here aren't very foiled or wet looking. They're quite subdued, very satiny, but you can get some beautiful fall looks out of this. There's even this green down here, and this kind of, it's blue, but a very muted kind of blue. ABH started coming out with these 9-pan palettes last year with their sugar and spice. Spice has to be one of my all-time favorite palettes. It is so, so good. But those two palettes were much more sparkly, more of a wet effect on the eye. This one does not have that. Again, much more subdued, but you can get some very beautiful, versatile looks out of this palette. It is absolutely gorgeous. And each and every one of these shadows can be a one and done. And I love this specifically for the fall because doesn't it scream fall to you? However, I can see this middle shade, this more peachier shade, and this shade right here in combination, just those two. You can use those in the spring and summer too. You can use any of these palettes that I'm talking about whenever you want, right? There's no rule. I can't use this because it's April. I can't use this because it's June. Use whatever you want. I'm categorizing these in terms of what I would reach for seasonally. Okay, let's just make that clear. This isn't a Bible on what palette to use in which month. Not at all. Here are swatches of this palette. This satiny, more sparkly shade up here is beautiful to add to any one of these shades. They work beautifully together. Very, very impressed with these 9 pans from ABH. So, so good. All right, next up in the season category is this Prada eyeshadow palette. 1, 2, 3, 4. It looks like a quint to me, but it's 4 shades. This formula is so smooth, so very smooth on the eyelid. If you have any wrinklage on your eyes, do not be afraid of this. It will smooth them right over. You won't even know you have them anymore. This is a beautiful color story. 09 Primula. Don't know how to pronounce it. That's what it's called. And this is a fantastic formula that kind of falls into the season category only because it's like a fall, maybe winter color story. Although, just like with everything, you can use it whenever you'd like. But for the purposes of these awards and these categories, that's where this falls. I'm so impressed with this formula. So smooth, so silky, so silky. Here are swatches of the formula. A beautiful gradient. You have your deepening shade, transitional shade. This is they're all beautiful all over the eye as one and dones. But this duochromy, is it duochromy or multichromy? I don't know. It is so gorgeous. Absolutely stunning. Look at that. And it plays so well with any one of these that you pair it with, or you can just use the mattes to do a matte look, which I always love as well. But this, just a tap of it, you can tap this on or really pack it on. These blend like a dream. Like I said, so smooth. That's the word that I can describe them. They are smooth on my mature eyelid that is getting more and more wrinkly by the day. Wearing this is a joy. A joy. The mattes are almost like a cream to powder formula. Not exactly, but it kind of feels that way. But if I have to give the award to seasonal palette, it would have to be to the ABH Embers palette, simply because it is such a creamy formula, which is surprising. You would think it'd go to NATASHA or you'd think it'd go to Prada, but no. This one takes the cake. All right, last category, and this is the lifetime category. What falls into the lifetime category? Lifetime are palettes that I used this year that are staples that I reach for every day. And these are your everyday neutrals. These are your tried and true palettes that you have next to you at all times. These are the palettes that are reliable, the ones that you keep next to you, the ones that you cannot live without, whether you're combining them with any of the other palettes that I talked about today, whether you use them as standalone eyeshadow palettes, whether you like a shimmery look, whether you like an all matte look, ones that I've used so much because they are staples and they fall into the lifetime category. All right, we have several entries in this category. This one is the Natasha Denona Mini Eye Sculpt palette. We have the Dior Canage 5 pan in brown cashmere. We have the Mario palette, the Ethereal Eyes Nature palette. And we have two Natasha Eye Sculpt palettes. This is the Soft palette, and this is the Dramatic palette. All right, first up is the Natasha Denona Eye Sculpt Mini Palette. This is the perfect staple palette for any base to any eye look. You have a perfect gradient from darkest to lightest, perfect tones. I know she just came out with a cooler toned version of this. That is not for me. I'm not picking that up. I know those tones are going to look gray on me. This one is perfect for my skin tone. I love the minis, as I mentioned. They're perfect for travel, and they are the perfect companion to any look whatsoever. And also, you can do a beautiful matte look with these as well. Creamy formula, very easily blendable, and a staple for anyone's makeup collection if you do like matte tones like these or use mattes for your base. I do not have any complaints about the formula in here, and the shades are perfection. Next up is the Makeup by Mario Ethereal Eyes 3rd edition. This is the Nature palette, and there have been some mixed reviews about this one. I know a lot of people were missing the wet effect formula that were in the other two. However, I love this one. There are some beautiful everyday neutrals in here, and you do have your pop of green. There's a really nice deep brown shade in here. It's not too dark. It's actually quite versatile for being a basic palette. I do understand that the formula is different and not the same as the other two. However, it doesn't mean it's a bad palette. I love the shimmers in here. They're very beautiful. The mattes are super buttery. You can get some beautiful everyday looks out of this, and you can deepen it up, or you can add a little bit of green, a pop of green in there, those olive greens. And this one actually has like a little bit of like a bronziness to it as well. So I do love this a lot, and that's why it's in the lifetime category. It doesn't fall anywhere else other than a staple that is versatile and you can use all of the time. The formula performs great, and I really do enjoy this palette a lot. Here are some swatches of the palette. Not extremely sparkly, not anything over the top, but they are reliable and stable, and you can keep for a lifetime. And that's why they're in this category right here. A beautiful palette. I really do love it. Next, let's talk about the Dior in the Canage packaging, which is hard. I don't know if I expected it to be soft, but it doesn't matter. It is absolutely beautiful. And this is the brown cashmere. This is so one of those palettes that you leave on your vanity that you reach for every day. Everything in here is so creamy, blendable. You get one matte shade, two satin shades, and two metallic shades. And when I tell you, I get compliments when I wear this and only this palette. I've gotten the most compliments. I know, it seems so simple and so unassuming, but it is gorgeous. Here are swatches of these shades. They're so beautiful and they are so easy to blend, very, very creamy. I know that Dior Quints sometimes are hit or miss. However, this one is a hit, 100% a hit. These are perfectly pigmented and the shimmers have immediate payoff. You don't have to build them up too much to get the impact that you want from them. So pretty. One of my top favorites of the year, for sure. All right, next up are the Natasha Denona Eye Sculpt palettes in soft and dramatic. All right, we have the dramatic and the soft palettes in the Natasha Denona. This is the dramatic and this is the soft. All right, so what should I say about these palettes? I'm going to say firstly that I reach for the dramatic palette more than I do the soft palette. However, they both have their own properties that can suit anybody. Let's first talk about the soft palette. A beautiful gradient, just like the other one. So you can go from dark to light, and even though I rarely reach for this side of the palette, if you cover this part, it's completely a color story that I can use. This lighter part kind of throws me off when I look at it at first. If you don't know where to start, you have your rows all laid out for you. It's all done by color story and by undertone. It is absolutely beautifully thought out. Even though this is a soft palette, look at this row. I mean, that's pretty deep. You could get a really smoky eye from that. Even the one next to it. Then you have your cool row right over here. Then over here, we're getting a little bit warmer, and then we're getting into the pinks and the peaches. Then we move on. It's like an extension of the palette. And so we have the same idea. We're all laid out in the rows. My favorite is this row right here. So beautiful. But I've gotten the most beautiful looks out of this palette. This one obviously is deeper than the soft palette. It's the dramatic palette. But in each palette, you have the ability to go from light to dark. I love that I have both. To be honest with you, I reach for the dramatic palette more because in my eyes, that's the palette for me because I have a light to medium skin tone. However, I think I need to give the soft palette a little bit more love. The other thing that I do love about the dramatic palette a little bit more than the soft palette is that we do get an entire row of shimmers in here. And I think maybe that's why I gravitate to that one more. In the soft palette, you only get, I think, like one shimmer here. And then there's another really dark shimmer over here. So not that versatile in terms of shimmers, but if we're talking about lifetime palettes, staple palettes, palettes that you leave right next to you that you can use in combination with any other palettes on their own, whatever you wish. The formula is creamy and beautiful. The metallics are gorgeous. The satins are gorgeous. Everything in there is perfect and I love it, and I have been reaching for these a lot. I think the most of any other palette, even though they were released just a few months ago, the most that I have been reaching for consistently have been these palettes for sure. I just decided I'm going to add another category to this list. So we're going to end the lifetime category here, and the award goes to these two Natasha Denona Eye Sculpt palettes for sure. And the reason I added another category is because I realized they're not part of anything else. This is real time stuff going on. This is going to be the standout category of the year, standout, because there are so many color stories that I have to go through. I don't think anybody's going to be surprised about what I'm going to be talking about today because I've been ranting and raving about them all year long. But let's move on to standout palette or palettes of the year. To no one's surprise are the Victoria Beckham quads because I'm in love with them. This is Cocoa. This is the latest addition to this line, and actually my favorite because it has a lighter feel to it, and I'll explain all about that in 1 second. That's Cocoa. This is Navy Noir. Now, if I could wear this every day, I would, but I don't wear it every day. But when I do wear it, I'm in love with it. This has to be my favorite palette of the entire year. Unfortunately, though, I can't wear it every day. But if I had to pick a favorite, regardless of when I can wear it or not, this would be it. This shade right here is perfection. This sort of electric blue shade isn't in your... All of it works so perfectly together. I can't even tell you, okay, how much I love this. But I do love blue. Not everybody loves blue. If you love blue, you have to pick this up. That is Navy Noir. This one is Night Flash. This one is very deep and sultry, but you do have this marshmallow shade to lighten things up and this creamy shade to lighten things up. Overall, the look that you're going to get is pretty sultry and dark and mysterious and gorgeous. And this has a time and a place. So all of these that I'm going to go through could have fit into all of the other categories, but these deserve a category of their own, I have decided. They are the standouts. Whatever the color story, whatever the palette, it doesn't matter. These are my favorite of the year. I hate to use the word it, but I'm obsessed with them. Don't tell anybody. And now we have the olive color story. We're brightening up a little bit, right? Can you see that? But you have your pop of green, your little olive green here, your gold, and this beautiful matte in the corner. I love that the matte kind of transitional shade in each of these is the bigger of the pans because we tend to use more of that. That's very well thought out in my opinion. And then we have the most popular of these releases, and that is Victoria. You can brighten this up a little bit, but not too much. A lot of people were like, well, everything that you get from these are a little bit dark. I do agree. Yes, they are on the sultry side. They are on the darker side of things, but so gorgeous. So let's talk about formula. These are creamy and blendable and beautiful. And yes, as I mentioned, they do tend to lean dark unless you are talking about this one, which was recently released. And I think they listened to everybody saying, can we get something a little bit lighter? If I could only use one eyeshadow palette for the rest of my life, it would be this Cocoa one because it has everything that I need. This beautiful, beautiful dark shade here. That's not too dark, just enough. Everything blends out beautifully. Like formula wise, it's perfection. Like there are no notes on the formula. We're talking about shades and depth. It's so beautiful. I use this on vacation. Oh, I think I mentioned this in a roundup video. I put this shade right here in the crease and this all over the lid. That's all I did. A little bit of eyeliner and I got the most compliments. The most compliments. This is a beautiful eyeshadow formula, whichever palette speaks to you. I do want to shout out the amazing and gorgeous, hefty, beautiful packaging that you do have to buy separately, I'm sorry to say, because these are refillable. So you buy the shadow and then the compact separately. That kind of sucks. I wish it all came together. They are pricey. I will say that too, but I do not regret one purchase. And these Victoria Beckham eye wardrobes take #1 spot, stand out of the year. My #1, I can't say most used one palette because I use them across all 5. So I can't say that one was used more than the other. Maybe, actually, no. I'm lying. The most used of all of these has been the Cocoa one. If I could give out trophies to makeup, I would give a trophy to these guys. That's what I would do. That was so much fun. I'm so glad I decided to categorize the eyeshadow palettes in these award categories. It made it so much easier and actually I think much easier to understand where my thoughts are on each of them. I hope you felt that way too. That is it. That is all for this video. I really hope you found it helpful. As always, thank you so much for watching. Please do subscribe to my channel down below if you have not already. That would be amazing. Follow me on Instagram too, and I will see you in the next one. Hopefully. Bye.